Hey, welcome to another episode of Jetter's Garage. Many of you probably remember the video that I made. It got over 1 million views. It was why I regret buying my Ford Lightning. People said that I was anti-EV. People said that I was exaggerating. Well, guess what? Ford pulled the plug on the Ford Lightning. Now, I'm not here to brag or to dunk on Ford. I was really hoping it would actually work, but here's the postmortem. If you're interested, watch the video, you'll get all of the information. Multiple outlets have said that Ford is no longer going to be producing the Ford Lightning after the 2025 year. They don't plan to resume production. Ford's own leadership said this was due to market realities and customer preferences. I have to think that some of the things that I brought up in the original video are pretty relevant and that maybe there were some opportunities for Ford to take a little closer look. All of this matters because it's not a trim change like a different model of Ford Lightning that's going to go out on the market. It's a complete cancellation. Ford is admitting that this experiment, as they put it, didn't pencil. So here's the part that a lot of people didn't understand. Even if something is really cool and the product doesn't suck, it doesn't mean that the product isn't a financial dumpster fire, which I think that it's pretty safe to say this probably falls in that category. Ford's Model E division, so all of their all-electric models, in 2024, guess how much they lost? 1 billion, 2 billion? Nope. $5.1 billion in losses in 2024. How long can you sustain that? Apparently, not very long. You have to find a way to recoup that money if you're going to keep going forward. Even Ford Motor Company is not in the business of continually lighting money on fire. So when people have been speculating and wondering why are they actually canceling the Ford Lightning, you look at it and you go, trucks are expensive, batteries are expensive. And if you own a truck, if you're buying a truck, you probably want to be practical with it. You want to tow things. You want to haul things. So you're wanting to do things in cold weather. You're wanting to charge at random times. Now, thank God they added the Tesla charging network, which was a lifesaver for everyone. In fact, I know several Ford Lightning owners, and they talk about how that changed everything for them. Although they still do have to take up 2 spots, and if 2 spots are not available, then it's a real nightmare for them. However, the F-150 had a narrow lane of use. I mean, think about it. If you're going to tow things long distances, that's a problem. You have to plan in advance. If you're going to haul things, it's probably going to take several charging stops. These things don't go practically with owning a truck, at least for some. And for the majority of people, they felt like it was too much of a hassle, and they went back to the ICE vehicles. Now, many of you probably saw the early on fire that took place because of the battery fire. That definitely didn't help the whole production, as well as the technology that went along with the Ford Lightning. I think that they were using technology that they hired out. And in fact, I heard some people are still waiting for some of the basic features for their vehicle. And if you wanted to use Apple CarPlay, there's some serious limitations when using that in your Ford Lightning. So when the Ford Lightning first came out, I had one of the first versions of it. I had the 2023 model. You know, they had to pause production because they had supply line issues. So that was a really big deal. Then they had the fire. That was another disruption. So both of these things hurt the actual launch of the Ford Lightning, along with a lot of the limitations that we saw. Now, people are willing to pay extra money because it was cool. In fact, I was one of those people because I thought this was going to be the truck that I was going to keep. So when restraints happened on all of the production, what did people do? They went the easy route. In fact, a lot of people have talked about how the dealerships really preferred selling the ICE vehicles because there's a lot more maintenance, there's a lot more repairs, all of those things. Plus, they didn't have to learn new technology to learn how to maintain the Ford Lightning. They knew how to maintain all of the gas-powered vehicles. So it was kind of one of those things where you go to what you know, and if the supply chain is hurting and you can't get the cool new electric vehicle, you're probably going to buy the other version anyway. People will say, well, Jed, it was the best-selling electric truck in America. Well, it was one of the only electric trucks in America, and now we're seeing why. Now people say, well, Jed, we have the Tesla Cybertruck. The Tesla Cybertruck, also a cool truck, and we're going to see how the sales continue with that. But I think that's a completely different thing than you have with your basic truck. I actually like the look of the Ford Lightning. It's a little bit more basic, and I think it's more practical. So some people have even said with the Tesla Cybertrucks, they look like appliances. So I don't know. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. I'm not here to judge, but that is kind of the feedback. Here's one thing that I think Ford got incredibly wrong. With my video that I did, the Why I Regret Buying My Ford Lightning, I was really hoping that they would reach out and really try to correct some of the things, because if you watch that video, I talk about how the truck is one of the best driving trucks that you could get on the market. Unfortunately, when you're dealing with an over 100-year-old company, they are really set in their ways. Influencers are not looked at the same as when you deal with someone like Tesla. Tesla is a lot more modern, and they don't look at it like, you know what, we can just forget about the influencers. We can just do another ad. Well, I think in today's world, YouTube can be way more powerful than ads, and I think things like that showed. I had thousands of people that responded, and many of those people even considered whether or not they should buy, and maybe they decided not to buy after watching the video, hoping that they probably would fix some of those items. Here's the part that a lot of legacy companies don't understand. Video is not a primary layer of the sales process, not making fluffy sales. If you research it on Google, they published that 70% of shoppers say online videos helps them learn about an auto product and make the final decision whether or not they intend to buy. 70%. That means only 30% of people aren't watching these online videos if they're going to be making a big purchase. Well, it makes sense when things have gotten so expensive, you want to really research things before you make that purchase. So if you have a video like mine that reaches over 1 million views, that's not just content, that's research. That's a permanent test drive that's going to speak to every single person that researches even just a little bit on Google or YouTube. So you really need to take notice and work with people rather than against them. Because if you don't help shape the narrative will shape itself, and you could find yourself at the end of a $5 billion loss, and all of the people that were hoping to be your raving fans, unfortunately, could not get behind you, mainly because you didn't even talk to them in the way that they were trying to communicate with you. So are EVs dead? People say, Jed, you're anti-EV. I am not anti-EV. And again, I'm going to say this very clearly. I think that the Ford Lightning drives like a dream, and I really wish that it would have worked. I really, really do. If they could come up with better battery technology where you get like 1,000 miles of range and, they took care of some of the technology issues, I think they have a real go at it. I just think that they're not there yet. I think Ford has learned some valuable lessons through all this, or at least I hope they have, is that you can build a really cool truck and it can still be way too expensive, and you can work with everyone to overcome a lot of the issues if you're transparent about it and you take more of a modern approach of working with the people rather than working against them. There's still a lot of question on dealers and how they felt about the whole situation, but I think a lot of that could get worked out. It's just a matter of communication. So after billions and billions of dollars of loss, they're going to have to pause production. But does that mean it's dead forever? Well, your guess is as good as mine, but I have to think that if things can become a little bit more reasonable, maybe Ford will take another look. But it's got to get a lot less expensive. If you've watched my original video where I regret buying the vehicle, what was the biggest deal breaker for you? Price range, charging, towing, and the technology. It all was just a bundle of things that I could not deal with all of them together. So for now, I think Ford is going to wave the white flag, or they have waved the white flag. They're surrendering to the EV market because they've lost so many billions of dollars. So if you like videos where you have people talking the truth, telling you exactly what's really going on, then hopefully my channel is a great place for you to do that. I really just want to tell you all of the things that I learned along the way and fill you guys in on what I know to be true. I really do enjoy the electric vehicles. I also enjoy the classic cars. So if there's anything I can do to help educate any of you, please feel free to reach out. Continue, like and subscribe, and watch the videos. I'm sure we'll see some really cool things in the future. Take care, and I'll see you soon.